So why do I bring this up? Why do I bring up MTV and CNN as part of the history of digital media? Well, what it really is a consuming society. The idea that we're going to be taking media in at all times. You're not going to be starting to think about it critically. It's going to start saturating you in 24/7. Nobody asked for 24/7 media. It just sort of appeared and people just got used to it. But what happens when you create 24 hours worth of news, but you don't actually have 24 hours worth of things to report on? Well, you get commentary. People who are talking about the news, not newsmakers or reporters. Now you may see an exact corollary to this to Twitter today, or you might see this in social media, that in order to fill the spaces that are built for you, you'll notice it's all user generated. In order to be user generated, they leave the space, they built it, but other people fill it. And now we fill it and we see it as like this big win for people, but really what it is this time where everything's occupying our time as much as possible. Now again, I'm not going to be negative about digital media. I'm pro digital media. I think everything's good in moderation. But at the same time, if we don't step back and look at it critically, we're going to have a problem. So the next thing you should understand is how this corporate reality begins. There's a shift in politics at the exact same time. Something happens culturally and politically at the exact same moment as all of these technological shifts. Steve Jobs really ushers in the idea of the technological personalness, the idea that you could have a computer, that machines weren't just mechanical devices that you would use for computing, but something you could have in your house that would make your life easier, become more, make things that you could interact with. And that's really a Jobs idea that, look at it now, almost 40 years after Steve Jobs really started developing in his garage. We're now looking at the computer being everywhere, the ubiquitous idea of computing in your pocket. It's truly the most portable, simplest design. Steve Jobs liked the idea of simplicity. To this day, the iPod and the iPhone have one button. That's simplicity. That's an incredible idea. But along with that is an interesting new intervention in the way business worked. An intervention known as neoliberalism. Neoliberalism is the idea that anyone can do the free market. Anyone can approach it, anybody can work with it. It was ushered in by Ronald Reagan and even Maggie Thatcher in London. But the idea there is that the market is open to all. Even Obama partakes in this kind of idea. And you can see how neoliberalism has failures that we've seen in the most recent populist uprisings around the world. Neoliberalism itself has failures in the Midwest and places where we don't have as much access. You see on the coast, it's easy to be neoliberal because the access points and mobility are there. When you're not in the coast, mobility isn't as easy, and so it has these shortcomings. But you wouldn't recognize those shortcomings or even know of them if you weren't in some way connected to the web or have other people who could share in that type of plight with you. So you can see how these types of things, this access point also becomes this ebb and this flow. But I want to show you one piece of visual media or new media at the time that Reagan used in order to win his re-election in 1984. It was his commercial called "It's Morning Again in America." I think it's important for you to see because you get to see the political shift that occurs at this time.